My name is Abdurrashid Babalala. I welcome you all to today's session. We'll be talking about the purification of the soul. And the speaker for today's event is no other than Dr. Basma Abdel Ghaffar. Dr. Basma, I would like to give you a brief profile of the speaker. So Dr. Basma Abdel Ghaffar, sorry. So Dr. Basma Abdel Ghaffar is the vice president of the Makassar Institute, and she's also an associate professor, and she's written on several books, including one of which is The Morality of the Quran, which I find very, very, very interesting, and I think is a must-have for everybody who has not read it. And she's also written about how Muslims can live and properly coexist in a plural society. Without further ado, I would like Dr. Basma to speak to us and share our thoughts about the topic, which is the purification of the heart. May Allah illuminate your path and order yours. Ameen. Bismillah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My brothers and sisters in Nigeria again. It's a pleasure to be here. I would like to thank all of you for being with me today and giving me the privilege to talk to you. I always say it is a privilege for the speaker. It is an honor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is a great, great responsibility. So I've been thinking quite a bit about what to talk about today, and I changed the topic a couple of times, but finally, subhanAllah, my heart settled on talking about the heart. So today we're going to talk about the centrality of the heart and the health of our hearts. And we're going to be in particular looking at 4 references that the Quran makes to this aspect of our existence. And that is the breast or the sadr, the heart or the qalb, the inner heart or the perception of the heart, which is the fu'ad, and the deepest recess or the intellect, which is the lub. And then we're going to conclude by talking about the purification of our hearts. So in the Quran, the heart is very central. Allah states in the Quran, Allah has written faith upon their hearts, meaning the true believers, and reinforced them with the spirit from Him. He also stated, it is He who sent down serenity into the hearts of the believers. He also stated, Allah has endeared faith to you and beautified it in your hearts and has made disbelief and lewdness and disobedience hateful to you. And he also states, have they not traveled in the land so that they develop hearts with which to understand, ears with which to hear? For surely it is not the vision that becomes blind, but rather the heart which is in the breast. So, and there are many, many references that obviously we can't cover in half an hour, but the Quran gives centrality to the role of the heart in the life of the believer. And this points us to the fact that what we love in our lives is very important. A sound heart loves everything good and rejects everything that is corrupt. Love in Islam is a very serious condition with implications in this life and the next. What we love and who we love influences our moods, our behavior, our motivations, our preferences, and our aspirations. So exercising good judgment and maintaining objectivity in this choice is very critical. Allah tells us in the Quran that we might love something that is harmful to us and dislike something that is beneficial for us. He also pointed out that we might dislike certain individuals with whom our association actually brings great blessings to our lives. And this was in the context of marriage. So the implication is that we must develop deep insight into why we love what we love and who we love. In a prophetic narration, a man asked the Prophet, alayhi salatu wasalam, what he would say of someone who loved a people but did not have the opportunity to live among them, just like we love, inshallah, the Rasul and the Sahaba. The Prophet responded, "A person is with whom he loves." And in another incident of similar import, he responded, "You are with who you love." So again, be very cautious about who you love and develop a love even for those who may not be among us, but whose company we desire to be in, inshallah, in the next life. So as I stated, there are 4 dimensions that I want to talk about today that we must understand when we are referring to the heart. The sadr, or the breast, is associated with the light of Islam, Nur al-Islam. The heart, or the qalb, is associated with the light of Iman, or the light of faith. The allegiance, or the confidence, or the trust of the heart, its perception, is related to the fu'ad, and that is associated with the light of ma'rifah, or the light of knowledge. And finally, the deepest recess of the heart, the core of it, the lub, the intellect, is associated with the light of tawheed, or unification. So when we're talking about the breast, which is the enclosure, the cavity within which the heart exists, this is where the light of Islam can enter. It is to acknowledge Islam and its rules. It is where we make the declaration of faith, not yet where faith is embedded within us, but where we make that declaration. So it is the place, the sadr in the Quran is the place for the entry of internal and external signals that either lead to its expansion or to its contraction. So we read in the Quran, "Therefore, whomsoever Allah desires to guide, he makes his breast welcoming to Islam, yashrah sadru. And when he desires to misguide someone, he constricts his breast, narrowed as it were, rising into outer space." He also said to the Prophet, as you all know, alayhi salam, "Have we not expanded for you your breast? Alam nashrah laka sadrak." And he also said, and we are told, that he tests what is in our breasts. So what is in that cavity that surrounds the heart? And most of you will have experienced, God forbid, that contraction, when something bothers you or shocks you, when you see like some major disobedience towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or towards the Prophet, you feel this tightness in your chest and your heart actually begins to hurt you. It's also physical reactions. Very interesting to link between the two, because Allah is revealing to us the spiritual truth of a physical entity within us. They are linked. It's not somewhere out of us. It is actually in us. Allah says the heart is in the sadr, which is inside of us. And that is where the evil whisperings, or waswasat al-shaytan, will also enter. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ إِلَيْهِ النَّاسِ مِنْ شَرِّ الْوَسْوَاسِ الْخَنَّاسِ الَّذِي يُوَسْوِسُ فِي صُدُورِ النَّاسِ. This is where? In the breast, في الصدور. So that's where the distractions happen. And initially, unfortunately, that entry is not felt. Feelings creep up on us like jealousy or passion or arrogance, laziness. This is where it starts. And the Quran tells us, unfortunately, that vice leads to sins of the heart, to impurity of the heart, to sickness of the heart, and to hardness of the heart, and eventually, God forbid, to the death of our spirit. Now, quite the opposite is also true. It expands with the reception of good news and doing good, which springs from our hearts. So when you receive good news, you feel, oh, that's lovely. And you feel your breast expand and your heart is comforted by that. So we also experience the opposite in that vicinity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supports this area of us, this breast. He states, "O people, there has come to you an admonition, maw'izatun, from your Lord, and healing for what is in the breasts, and guidance and mercy for the believers." So it is very important that our breasts are receptive and inviting of the light of Islam and the retention of knowledge that is useful, valuable, and truthful. It is important that we stop the entry of anything that can debase us. And when something does enter, that we work hard to eliminate it. We read in the Quran, whoever disbelieves in Allah after his belief, except for he who is coerced and whose heart is secure with faith. But he who invites disbelief into his breast, on them is the wrath of Allah. So there is great consequence for allowing this ingratitude, this disbelief to enter into our being and to impact, as we're going to see, the clarity with which our hearts can see and respond and emit energy to the world. So in order to keep our breasts expanded and our hearts at ease, we have to strive to eliminate shirk, or anything that associates with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any evil tendencies, and to invite what is good through learning and through action. And as I said, this will give our hearts clarity. And that brings us to our heart, which is in our breast, as I said. So we know from the Quran that Allah has written faith upon the hearts of believers. He has endeared faith to you and has beautified it in your hearts. And he's put tranquility in our hearts. In the Quran, the heart is associated with the light of Iman. So when Islam enters your sadr, it is a declaration of faith. But when it enters your heart and it settles, it is obedience. It is belief. Now we're entering a different stage in our journey. And in our heart, this includes taqwa. It includes love, mahabba, contentment, certainty, yaqeen. It also includes fear, hope, and patience. All of these meanings are associated with the heart in the Quran. The Prophet ﷺ said, taqwa is here, and he pointed to his heart 3 times. Taqwa is here. It is in the heart. So our intentions are very important, because that is where our intentions are formed, in the heart. And our intentions then convey to our other faculties, our outer expressions, why we are doing what we are doing. Again, the role of the heart being very important. Your heart is actually your inner advisor, and keeping it healthy is very important. The Prophet ﷺ said, it is through the health of the heart that the body is healthy physically as well as morally. He also said, ask your heart, consult your conscience. Good is what gives peace to the soul and the heart. Evil is that which troubles the soul and makes the heart palpitate, irrespective of what advice those who give you advice say. So you can see how even there's a physical reaction that alerts us. You know, when something's bothering you, or you see something, your heart begins to palpitate. It begins, you begin to sweat. Your heart begins to beat quickly. You feel like you're going to, God forbid, have a heart attack, because that's what your heart's. It's not comfortable. So what we're learning from the Quran about the spirituality of our heart is the truth about how our heart works. It's the other, what we have to, not just the physical side. We have to understand the spiritual side of our hearts, because that keeps us healthy. That keeps that space around the heart pure and welcoming, and enables our heart to function properly. It's not just a physical, material existence, but it is also very much a spiritual and faith proposition. So accountability also resides in the heart. We read in the Quran, he will hold you to account for what your hearts have earned. He also stated, there is no blame on you in what you have mistaken, but instead what your hearts have purposefully committed, and God is forgiving, merciful. In fact, the only thing that will save an individual on the day of judgment is a pure and sound heart. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Except he or she who comes to their Lord or to God with a sound, pure heart. So our hearts are an integral part of our journey of purification and of faith. The Quran consistently emphasizes that the action of the heart and expressions of our body go together, but it elevates the action of the heart. Good actions must spring from the depths of our hearts. We read in the Quran, that is pure for your hearts and refine what is in your hearts. And those who give what they give in charity while their hearts are afraid that to their Lord they must return. And again, Allah has sent down the best discourse, a consistent book, giving goosebumps to those who hold their Lord in awe. Their skins and hearts become pliant to the remembrance of Allah. This is the guidance of Allah. He guides whom He pleases. And as for whom Allah misguides, there is no guide for him. So the light of faith and the light of the Quran and the Sunnah are the same. We cannot have one without the other. Now, in the heart, or the way the heart responds or perceives, this is through what the Quran refers to as fu'ad. So for the ears, we have hearing. For the eyes, we have sight. For the heart, we have the fu'ad. So it is the perception of the heart. The fu'ad, or the perception of the heart, is associated with knowledge and vision. To know and see gives us a whole new perspective on reality. We see something deeper. You're no longer just looking at the external manifestations of people and of things, but you're looking at a different reality. You're looking deeper. You know, when you say, I feel that person's heart, or I know that's a good person, or God forbid, I know that's not a good person, or I feel fear from that animal, but I feel secure towards that animal. It means you're not just seeing the outer manifestations. Sometimes a human being can be very beautiful, but you feel pulled back from them. Obviously, it's not what you're seeing. What you're seeing is something by worldly standards that's very beautiful. But the energy from your heart, that sincerity, that fu'ad, is actually seeing something deeper than the external manifestation. In the Quran, we read, indeed, there has come to you clear insights from your Lord, basair, from your Lord. So whoever sees it for themselves, and whoever sees it, it is for themselves. And whoever is blinded, it is against themselves. And I am not a preserver over you. So again, we have these insights. Do we actually see not just the external, but a bit deeper? It also states, nay, if you had known with a certain knowledge, you would most certainly have seen the hell. Then you would most certainly have seen it with visual certainty. Then you shall be questioned on that day about the blessings. So again, our hearts, or our fu'ad, sees deeper than it's what sees, it is what is blinded. We see beyond the reality, the physical, material reality, with our fu'ad. And your eyes are the windows to that. Right? All of your senses, really. But your eyes are quite, in the Quran, refers a lot to al-basira, or the eyes, for that purpose. When the Quran challenges us to use our eyes, it is referring not merely to our vision that is in front of us, but to a greater depth. So the heart sees by the strength of the fu'ad. And indeed, the Rasulullah, when he saw Sayyidina Jibreel in the heavens, the Quran told him the fu'ad was not untrue in what it saw. مَا كَذَبَ الْفُؤَادُ مَا رَأَى. So what his fu'ad saw, was truthful. And when he was challenged, Sayyidina Muhammad ﷺ, about why the Quran was not revealed to him all at once, the response in the Quran came, it is so that we may secure your fu'ad. لِنُثَبِّتْ بِهِ فُؤَادَكَ. So by penetrating our inner heart, the Quran and Sunnah anchor it in truth. And finally, we move to the deepest recess of our heart, which is the intellect, or the lub. This is the deepest recess of our hearts, where the light of Tawheed shines. This is where La ilaha illallah is written, where it is actualized, where it springs from the depths of our heart into our fu'ad, our perceptions, out of our heart and radiates and generates this energy and the activities that accompany it into the world. This is the surest knowledge that in the La ilaha illallah, there is no God but God. It is the purest, most sincere dimension of our existence as believers. And it, just like everything in the breast cascades inwards, keeping it clean so the heart has good ru'ya and the heart is healthy, and then what the heart does, what the fu'ad does, and then we have the lub or la ilaha illallah, it goes the other way as well. When la ilaha illallah is settled in the core of our hearts, when it cascades outwards, it can only result in good, because we understand from that part of our hearts what tawheed means, what unification means. Now, the lub in the Quran is associated with 4 related meanings. Taqwa, or heedfulness, which is the deepest respect for Allah's laws. It is also related to remembrance and reflection, which is the constant recalling of truth and consideration of the reality of things. Third, it is related to thinking and acknowledgement, using our resources, both inner and outer, to figure things out, to contemplate. And finally, it is associated with the beauty of followership, those who hear the word, who hear the Quran or the Sunnah and follow the best of it. They take the best meanings into their life. This is why the Sharia is highly concerned with the development and nourishment of our intellect, because realizing the meaning of unification is the highest calling for humanity. That is where we understand, in the La ilaha illallah, is where we understand that we are all unified, connected in one way or another, not only with other human beings, but with everything in nature. That is where we realize that we proceed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to Him we will return. There is no exit strategy, there is nowhere to go. He is the refuge, and He is the savior. And this is that part of the heart that recognizes this. And the only way that that understanding can make its way through the other layers is if the other layers are ready, prepared, pure, in order to be able to generate that energy into the world. So in terms of purifying our hearts, accessing any light, whether it is of Islam or Iman or Ma'rifah or Tawheed, so whether it's Islam or faith or knowing or Gnosticism or unification, it demands purity of our thoughts and of our actions, both in private and in public. This is very important, not just in public, even with ourselves. Being a Muslim has a high demand. Even your thoughts with yourself have to be pure. Allah states, so settle your face towards the religion, away from falsehood, the original state, fitra, upon which God has constituted people. There is no exchange for what God creates. This is the established religion, but most people are unaware. So the Quran is giving us, the key to purifying our hearts. The deen, this beautiful religion that we have, the Quran and the Sunnah, and understanding them properly and internalizing them so that we can clear our breasts and enter our hearts, and so our fu'ad can respond. And the Prophet ﷺ, put it in this beautiful hadith. If we just followed, these 9 things, we would have a different ummah. Our hearts would be very different. He said, my Lord commanded me 9 things: sincerity in private and public, justice in contentment and fury, efficiency in wealth and poverty, and to forgive he who wrongs me, connect with he who cuts me off, give to he who deprives me, and that my utterances are remembrances of him. My silence is reflection, and my observations occasion to understand the wisdom of events. These 9 things are key. Finally, our hearts must exude mercy. The most heavily weighted value in a healthy heart is mercy. Mercy characterizes our human relations, not only towards one another, but towards all living things. God declares, my rahmah extends to all things. And the Prophet ﷺ was not sent except as a mercy, للعالمين, to the worlds, which implies everything beyond humans as well, in the worlds we don't even see. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was extremely gentle in his nature. And the Quran states, it was by mercy of God that you were gentle to them. Had you been harsh-hearted, they would have dispersed from around you. So dispensing mercy is a very, very important part of purifying our hearts, seeing the world with that lens. And I will close with 3 sayings of the Prophet ﷺ. Show mercy to everything on earth so that he in the heavens will have mercy on you. He also said, he who does not show mercy will not be shown mercy. Finally, may the mercy of God be on one who is kind and forbearing when he sells, kind and forbearing when he buys, and kind and forbearing when he makes a demand. Following this tradition of mercy strengthens the heart, enhances its capacity for ever increasing acts of giving, and keeps our hearts and our communities unified. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhaji, over to you with the questions if we have.
Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. We wish you to continue like this. So we have established this with you. Inshallah, and we'll continue to get in touch with you. We'd like to benefit from your knowledge. You have gained a lot. There are some questions that are agitating the minds of our members. Is there any process of getting our souls purified? Is there a process that one can follow if you want the soul to be purified? Want his heart to be purified? What are the processes that one can follow?
I'm sorry, the sound isn't clear. I'm trying to hear the question.
So he's saying, what are the processes of purifying the soul?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, you know, we did with Micah a really nice session in the beginning of Ramadan, and there are many processes, but I think what you have to do is be conscious when you are doing an act for the sake of Allah. So for instance, if you want to purify your soul, first of all, do a lot of dhikr. This is extremely important. You know, constantly don't waste time. Don't waste your time. Anything you're doing, you can be remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know, whether you're at home or whether you're driving your car, or, you know, you can always be saying, Subhanallah, 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 Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Astaghfirullah. You can always have his remembrance in your mind. Then when you do an act of worship, be present. Be present when you are performing acts of worship. Stop your mind from wandering. We're all human, and there's very few who can make it through all of their rak'at without their mind going somewhere. But be present. Catch yourself when you find yourself going somewhere else. Now, for those who want to pursue those higher and higher stations, the extra prayer and the extra acts of goodness, I personally found prayer in my life very important, especially the night prayer. You know, to wake up at night, to get up, to do your wudu in the stillness of the night. Nobody sees you. Nobody should see you. Nobody should even know that you're doing it, because that's part of your sincerity. You know, if somebody does, it's okay because you woke them up by mistake. That's fine. That's not what I mean. But to do it generally without letting anybody know, it's just between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That night prayer, I guarantee you, if you're doing it with ikhlas, with a pure niyyah and dedication to Allah, it will change your life. You will begin noticing things in your own self that you'd never experienced before. So salah, and especially evening prayer. Please, if for those who want to be on the journey in earnest, you cannot avoid that. And it's mentioned in the Quran, you know, this is a small group of people that's able to do this. And they're a very special group of people. And you can be among them. Who said they have to be little? You know, we don't know what the numbers are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. Is there anything that when we get to, that when we have the realization of the past that his soul is purified? You get a situation, people rather says, La tusaku anfusakum, who Allah mabimanitakum. Don't claim to be purified. Allah knows those who are fearless. Is there any stage you will get to in life that you know that you have traveled, that the journey has taken you with some level that your heart, your soul is purified?
So he's saying that how do you get to a station where you can certify that, yes, my soul is purified? How do you know that your soul is purified?
You know what? You should never look for that, in my opinion. You should just stay on the journey and keep the course. I mean, what are you going to do when you think you're there? You're just going to stop all of a sudden? I mean, that question is brilliant, but you shouldn't be looking for that if you're on the journey to God until you are actually, inshallah, in front of Him, until you are of those who are going to be so blessed, inshallah, that they get to be among that privileged company. Until you're there, you don't know. And you should never assume, ever, that your acts make you worthy. You know, this is another very big thing. I have something coming up, and they were asking us to share with us, you know, where we felt one with God. And I said, you have to be very cautious, because the minute that you think you're there and the minute you think you've made it, then it's all about you. And we don't have that in Islam. It's God's mercy. It's God's mercy, and it's not guaranteed. And we are just trying as human beings. You know, you are, mashallah, a group of dhikr. So I'll be very tough on you guys. You, in your journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have no rights. It is out of His mercy that He gives you. It's out of His generosity. But we have no rights against God. So how do we know that we've purified our souls? We don't. We keep getting better and better and better, and we stay humble.
Your answer has really corroborated what the Allah says in the Quran. وَلَا تُسَكُوا أَنفُسَكُمْ وَأَعْلَمُ بِمَنِ اتَّقَىٰ. Don't claim to have a pure mind. Don't claim to have a pure soul. Allah knows those who are pure among you. You have really treated the topic, and you have dealt justifiably with it. The importance of soul, the importance of us to a Muslim, we regard it at the center of our being. The Prophet says there's a lump in the body. If that lump is pure, the entire body is pure. If that lump of flesh is deceased, the entire body is deceased. And he says that's our soul, that's our heart. And that's why the party has decided to make this topic one of the topics we are going to treat during Ramadan. That after Ramadan, how do we sustain the level of taqwa that people have got? How do we sustain the level of spirituality that we have got that won't fall down below this level?
How do we keep up with the momentum after Ramadan in terms of purification of the soul and everything that we've tried to achieve in Ramadan? Actually, our heart. How do we keep on? How can we keep it on?
I want to clarify to my brother that I hear you, but I also hear an echo. There's like an echo in the room. So I am.
Maybe let me remove the earpiece and see whether we will get it clearly. Assalamu alaikum. Is it better?
I think it's a bit better. We'll know with the next question.
Okay, so
is it better now?
So the next question is that after Ramadan, how do we continue to continue with the momentum?
Again, you continue with the momentum. There's ways. Every person is different, and even the Quran says that. كل يعمل على شاكلته. Everybody. It tends towards a different direction. Everybody has a different interest, a different tendency. And so we have to take any lecture we get or any advice we get with that understanding. So someone after Ramadan may be able to keep up their energy by, for instance, continuing with the dhikr. Somebody else may decide that they've been doing a good act and they can continue that good act, helping a neighbor or, forgiving a spouse for something that's annoying them or, whatever. Somebody else might decide, I can increase salah. You know, that's where I can really take this forward. Somebody might decide that they're going to do fasting on Monday and Thursday, like the Sunnah, or they might fast in the middle of the month, you know, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. Somebody might even go the more extreme and do the fast of Sayyidina Dawood, which the Prophet also approved of, which is day after day. You know, so it depends on your understanding of yourself. That is part of being smart at your faith. I might do something that is not conducive for you. It won't make you feel comfortable. You can't do it, so you can't keep up with it. And you might do something that I can't keep up with. So part of keeping up with what you did in Ramadan is understanding more about yourself and then responding to that. Our faith before is gentle. It doesn't, at the same time, it pushes you to increase more and more good. And I would challenge everybody coming out of Ramadan on the point of mercy. You know, as an ummah, as a people, as a community, as parents, just as individuals, we have the power to wear a lens of mercy when we look at the world. We have the power to be more empathetic. Have empathy towards people. This is huge. If we were an ummah that did that, you know, if we looked at each other and we made excuses for our brothers and sisters, not excuses not to give them advice and wish them well, but in ourselves, so that we're more compassionate. So we want to help them, not judge them. You know, so we can all leave this Ramadan at least with that, at least with questioning ourselves when we're annoyed with something, you know, why? And we ask ourselves, why are we annoyed? Are we annoyed because truly we have faith and we want to help this person? Or are we annoyed because it's about us? So we can all leave this Ramadan by at least that question. When we see something that's bothering us, we say, okay, is it about me? Or is it about helping somebody else and being compassionate and helping them get to Jannah as well? You know, just like they will help you get to Jannah by accepting your help. So we can at least leave Ramadan with being more merciful, I hope, inshallah, and more forgiving of each other.
Jazakumullah khairan kathira. Finally, before I express our appreciation to you, there's a question here. It says, with the pandemic that's rampaging the entire world, what is best for Muslims to do at this critical time? With this COVID-19 that is rampaging the world, what do you advise a typical Muslim to do so that it doesn't go astray?
You know, I think we have to do a number of things. Again, it depends on who you are and what your capacities are. If you are an individual, please be safe and be careful. You know, this is a time-bound crisis, like any crisis in humanity. So, you know, the social distancing and the staying home when you have to, if you can, if this is possible for you, take care of yourself is number one, because this will pass and there's no need for us to lose too many people in the ummah to this crisis. Take care of your family. If you have an organization, for instance, or an NGO, or you do local activities, several of those have shifted some of their activity in order to be able to respond. So find families that are having difficulty with their income, with food, with taking care of their children, and support them. This is one way that, you know, families can help families, like the Ansar helped in Muhajirin once upon a time, you know, and it doesn't need big organization. Or if you, like I said, if you have an organization and you can collect protective materials, or you can source medical supplies, use some of the energy of your organization to help respond to this crisis. But on an individual level, keep up your prayer, keep up your faith, don't lose hope. This has happened before in history. It has happened more intensely, and it happens for a purpose. Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not bring something like this upon humanity without a purpose. And as we've discussed in our previous lectures, you know, a big part of that purpose is to remind us of the heart, is to remind us of where our hearts are going, is to remind us how we behave towards each other. It's to remind us to be honest and to fulfill our contracts and our promises. It's to remind us to join what he commanded to be joined and not to sever what he commanded to be joined. So if we walk away from this pandemic, having realized these things, having improved ourselves, we will have fulfilled its purpose as humanity. We will have learned the lessons that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted us to learn. And hopefully, you know, we're not going to fall into something like this pretty soon after. So, you know, that's my advice on what we do in this pandemic. We don't hope, you know, subhanallah,
Thank you.
Rahim, and he wants us to be hopeful, ibad. Rejoice.
Thank you. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. Before you pray for us, let me, on behalf of the entire members of Nasrullah, the party, Nasfat, say Jazakumullahu khairan to you for sparing your time, for sharing your knowledge with us. We have really benefited from your knowledge. You must allow for you to increase in knowledge, because it increase in iman, because it increase in taqwa. Nasrullah, the party, Nasfat, as an organization, was formed on the 5th of March, 1995. Our mission is to develop an enlightened Muslim society, nurtured by true understanding of Islam, for spiritual development and welfare of mankind. We started about 25 years ago. As I'm talking to you, we are located in about 244 places all over the world. We have branches in Canada, we have in the UK, we have in the US, we have in Togo, we have in Cote d'Ivoire, we are all over the country, all over the world. We have a university of our own called Fountain University. We are building an Islamic center in Nigeria here, about $800,000 Islamic center. We have a tours and travels, the largest or the biggest tours and travel agency in Nigeria today. Private travel agency in Nigeria today. We have an investment arm. We are happy to relate with you. We hope and pray that it will be the beginning of a very long relationship with Dr. Basmala Abdul Ghaffar. We have read a lot about you. We have heard a lot about you. May Allah continue to spare your life for the service to the Ummah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahi al-aliyyil azim. There's no how we can thank you enough for what you have done for us today. We can only say, Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. May Allah reward you. May Allah consider all that you have done today as sadaqah jariyah for you. We want you to pray for us too.
Inshallah. Hafadhakumullah. Thank you very, very much. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Your organization is very impressive. May Allah increase it. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. Oh Allah, we ask your forgiveness. We ask you for purified hearts. We ask you for sensitive fu'ad. We ask you for La ilaha illallah in the core of our hearts. We ask you to be able to actualize Tawheed, to join what you commanded to be joined, and to join what others have severed. We ask you kindness and mercy and guidance. We ask you that we may view each other with the utmost respect and the utmost love. We ask you the deepest respect for your law and for the sunnah of your Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We ask you to allow us to enter Jannah without account. We ask you to make us happy on a day when there will be no other to make us happy other than you. We ask you for a shade and a beautiful shade. We ask you for the company of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the other prophets and the angels. We ask you to enter paradise together, all of us together. Ya Rabb, forgive us our sins in this dunya. Let us not leave this beautiful month except as our mothers gave birth to us, pure and fresh and ready. Protect us from the pandemic, Ya Rabb. Protect us all and our loved ones and our friends. Raise this ummah to the station of the best ummah as you commanded us to be, and give us taqwa. وصلى الله على الحبيب الأمين المصطفى محمد وصحبه وسلم أجمعين. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم.
Thank you so much. I'm conveying the message of my member to you. We have chosen you as one of our resource persons, as we have chosen Professor Jesri Hauda. I hope that you are going to answer us anytime you follow you again, whether that's it, to be our link person. Inshallah, we would like to be relating with you more than this. We would like to be listening to your lectures, even if it's going to be online, fine. But after the pandemic, we would like to host you and Professor Jesri Hauda physically in Lagos. I hope you will honor our invitation.
It would be my pleasure.
As long as there's a goosey.
Yes.
I know we're very happy with Babalola. That will not be difficult for us.
She says, as long as you provide a goosey.
That's
I don't worry about that. You like a goosey so much, I will make sure I send some to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And regards to your family.
Barakallah fikum, inshallah.
Thank you, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Assalamu alaikum. Sir.
Wa alaikum salam. You can take your leave.
Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Thank you, sir.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. That was our first lecture for today. Dr. Basmal Abdul Ghaffar, who has been educating us on a lifetime journey. That is the journey of getting our soul, getting our heart purified. We recall that when she was asked the question of when you are going to realize that you have gone to that level, she said, it's difficult to say. It means it's a lifelong journey. The journey to get our heart purified is a lifelong journey. And the main thing in our body is our soul, is our heart. Even though people on the other side of the world, the Western world, they feel that the brain is the uppermost, is the topmost thing in our body. But having realized that our own Quran says that we see, we hear, we do whatever we want to do with our heart. That whoever Allah has seen his heart, we can never see the guidance. We never hear about the guidance. Allah says, we have sealed their heart, we have sealed their sight, we have sealed their hearing, and they cannot hear. It means if our heart is sealed, there's nothing you can get. It's not the soul, the eyes, or the hearing that is blind or that is sealed. It is the heart itself. And that is why as Muslims, we must continue to make effort to ensure that we purify our soul. We move to the second part of the lecture today. Our guest, Sheikh Abu Salam, will be discussing with us one of the challenges that the parents are facing now, especially those who have the millennials. Who do we call the millennials? The children that were born after year 2000. They are referred to as the millennials. The parents who have such children, they face unique challenges. Our scholar in the house today will now tell us, will teach us, will educate us on how to do parenting, how to handle the millennials as parents. Sheikh Abu Salam, فليتفضل مشكورا. We are waiting for our Sheikh to come in. It will educate us. Hello? Hello? Is he in the house? Okay, try and do that. Your Metala commands us that we should take care of our family. When it says family, it encompasses your wife, your children, your extended family. Say, who ampusakum wa alaykum nara. Wakudu annas wal ijara. Aliyah malaikatu kilahu sirat. La yasina Allah ma amara wa yabaluna ma yumarun. Who ampusakum wa alaykum nara. Protect yourself and your family from the hellfire. When it says and your family, it means your children. Moreover, if you're having the millennials under you, those who are born after year 2000, those who have critical mind, they ask a lot of questions and you'll be ready to answer them. If you don't answer their questions, if you don't pay attention to them, they will consult the internet and they will pick any jargon, any useless answer to what is troubling their mind. And that is why Nesrullah the Father has decided that today, somebody who's knowledgeable in that area, who knows so much about parenting, especially how to handle the millennials, has been invited today to come and teach us, come and educate us on our children who have access to the internet, who have this critical mind, who want to be independent, who challenge their parents. When we are grown up, we dare not challenge our parents when they did something. We dare not challenge them when if we did something and they had contrary opinion. We dare not challenge them. And nowadays, the way we relate with our children to be different. If you want to raise your children the way you are raised, you are likely to lose them. A statement was credited to Sayyidina Ali. Even though people are saying that statement was not made by him, but that's a statement that you may look at the source. The source may not be that original, but the meaning and implication may be very beneficial. Sayyidina Ali was reported to have said that the life of a child is divided into three. He said the first 7 years, you allow them to play the way they like. The second 7 years, continue to train them. It must have been that notion must have been formed by the hadith of the Prophet that says, order your child to pray at 7. When he's 10 years old, spanking slightly. People can talk that with child abuse. If it's, we're not talking about child abuse, we're not talking about beating him here, but you can just hang the pin somewhere. Because if it's fear the rod, you spoil the child. Just hang it somewhere and use it to threaten him or her that, okay, if you don't do what I ask you to do, even if you don't want to use him, you can deny him or her something. You may say, okay, instead of getting Indomie tomorrow, I'm not getting Indomie. Sayyidina Ali was reported to have said that the second 7 years was for education. It's for education. Make sure that he or she attends Arabic school. Make sure he or she goes to the confessional school. And that says the last 7 years, that says 16, 15, 18, 19, 21, take your child as one of your best friends. A child who's in a university, a child is about 18 years old, a child who's in SS3 or SS2, you now want to treat him like a primary school child. You're going to have challenge. Not even beat him or her that particular time, otherwise you develop body ache. What Ali was trying to teach us is that if you get to a stage that you handle your children as if you are talking, as if you are handling your best friends, most especially the millennial. And there are levels of why that was highlighted in a book written by Dawah of Nigeria Islamic Education Trust. They call it the level of why. There are 5 levels of why, and most of our children will continue to ask questions until they get to a level that you say this is a self-evident truth. When you get to self-evident truth, they will not question you again. For example, you are driving in a car with your child, and you get to the traffic light, and it beams red. You now stop. Your child will ask you, because of the critical mind that they have, why do you have to stop? You let them know that it is the law that says has to stop when the traffic light beams red. And that is haram and allowed in Islam. That is the law in Islam. That is Nigerian constitution. That is the European constitution. That's what the constitution says. That says, if I don't do it, what will happen? That will be the second question. Now at the level of what? Yes, I have to do it. If I don't do it, the government will punish me. If I don't do what Allah says that to do, Allah will punish me. Number 3 is if you decide that to hell with that constitution, to hell with that punishment, let me do it. He's not telling that if you don't wait, you are likely to endanger the life of another motorist who's coming. Because if the traffic light stays red and it asks you to stop and you refuse to stop, the oncoming vehicle, the fellow motorist, we assume that you are going to obey the traffic rule, you are going to obey the traffic law. He or she will stop. And if you don't stop, he or she will move. And if you don't stop, you are going to be involved in a car accident with him, because you will have anticipated that you will listen, you will abide by the traffic rule. The child will continue to ask, you will say, and if I hit the car, what will happen? You now go to the 4th level. That's the level we call the level of self-evident truth. Self-evident truth. I'm now asking, if you get involved in an accident with that man and the man died, would you like to be killed as well? No, I don't want to be killed. I wouldn't want to die. If you don't want to die, the Prophet says, none of you is a believer until he loves for himself, love for others what you love for yourself. And the last level of why is that the people who made the law, or the Almighty Allah, our Creator, who says this is what we should do, is the wisest, is the most loving, and is the most knowledgeable. For him to have said, don't do this, don't do that, he knows us. Doesn't he know what he has created? The very lenient, and is the one who give you the information, the report of what you have done. Now get to that level 5, that the man who has made the law for your country. In the case of Allah, the Almighty Allah who has made the law that we should do good to ourselves, he knows why that thing is good for all of us. We are dealing with people who have critical mind. We are dealing with people who have access to the internet, and that is why Nasrullah and the party we regularly organize a TTC program. We call it Train the Trainer course in Dawah and Dialogue. And that Train the Trainer course in Dawah and Dialogue is targeted at the millennials. We give it a subtitle. We call it Reloading the Deen. How do we do our Reloading the Deen? How do we organize that program? We organize that training in such a way that we allow them to participate more, to bring more input. When they do more, they talk more, they participate more than the lecturers, because there's nothing about us without us. By the time we come there, we have taken cognizance of the fact that we are dealing with those who have critical mind. You have taken cognizance of the fact that we are dealing with you. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is our guest in the house?
Sheikh Musa.
Is he in the house?
Yes, I'm in the house now.
Oh, jazakumullahu khairan kathira. You are welcome.
Right. Yeah.
May your Allah reward you abundantly. You have been invited to come and educate our people on how to do parenting to the millennials, the children who are born after year 2000. It's very challenging taking care of them as parents. How do we handle them?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. In the name of Almighty Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, I bear witness that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, and that the noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is and the messenger. All praise is due to Allah, who has made it possible for us to witness today, since the beginning of fasting of Ramadan, which is 27 or 26 today, depending on the starting of every group. It is in His wish, in His mercy, that He granted us the opportunity to witness today. We say Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen for that. This evening, we shall be talking about the effective parenting, that is Muslim parenting in this millennium. We shall start to find out. Every believer should know that there is no problem whatsoever, any period, any season, that Allah has not taught us the way we should handle our home. If every believer has followed the ways and manners that Allah has commanded us to operate, to live and take care of our children, whether millennial, came up or not, whether new developments came up or not, it will not affect our children. It only affects our children negatively if we go otherwise, if we neglect our duties. In the first instance, to start with, all of us today, majority of our brothers and sisters do not know why they are getting married. Our first assignment is to know why are we getting married. The intention of getting married. In the first instance, we should ask ourselves, because Allah, in the Almighty Allah, has taught us many lessons, as expatiated by the noble Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is, when Allah directed us in Surah Quran 24 verse 32, that wankihul ayama minkum wasalihina min ibadikum wa imaikum in yakunu fuqara yughnihimullahu min fadli wallahu samiun alim. Meaning that marry the unmarried among you who are single, and the salihun, that the pious ones of your male and slaves and maid servants. If they are poor, Allah will enrich them out of his beauty. That is the order, that is the instruction. That Allah said we should marry at, there is no specific age that we should get married. We should get married to our single children, our single male child, or single female child. But why do we get married? What are those things that we should have in mind before making the arrangement for getting married? The first thing that should occur is we should ask ourselves, why am I getting married? This is a good question to ask if you are meeting the person to make a final decision before, because it will be a reminder about the real purpose of marriage from an Islamic perspective. Marriage is part of faith, and it's part of the sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As well, my intention should be, I am looking for someone with whom I will build a family. Marriage is commitment and relationship that starts in this world and will continue, inshallah, in paradise together. For anyone who has this knowledge, then you now want to choose your partner. Our Khalifa Umar, told us that the Prophet clarified the people's standard when seeking a partner for marriage, saying a woman is married for 4 reasons: for her wealth, her lineage, her beauty, and her religion. So choose the woman with good religious qualities. May your hand be covered in dust. Those are 4 criteria. Not that the Prophet said these are the 4 criteria that we should follow, but he said those qualities, those criteria are what some people think of before getting married. If that is the case, we should remember that hadith that says, so choose the women with good religious qualities, not because of beauty, not because of lineage, not because of wealth. Today, when we want to get married, we do not remember that we said the intention is looking for someone with whom we will build a family. If the foundation is not strong, if the foundation is not built on the Islamic principles, then the fruits that will come out of it will not be satisfactory, will not be as Allah wants it to be. That is why we should all, after asking of ourselves why we are getting married, then what are we looking for in a spouse? Religion should be the first. Today, what we look for, if a lady, a girl, our girl child wants to bring someone, we will not hesitate to send her back if she brings an alpha, for example. But if she says, I am bringing a medical doctor, a lawyer by profession, an engineer by profession, an accountant for that matter, we will quickly allow him to come into our family, or someone from a wealthy family, a child of a commissioner, minister, governor, or whatever. We will be very much interested in such an individual, thinking that the future will be bright, whereas the future may not be bright. We have forgotten that instruction, that directive by the Holy Prophet Muhammad SAW, that we should marry a woman with religious qualities. If you do so, it's very sure that the religion that woman has will teach her. We will know that if there is wealth and there is religion, the religion will have taught us that it is Allah who controls wealth. If the beauty is fading, our religion will have taught us that there is no problem. It is Allah who is in control. That is why we now go to it. Let us assess those of us who, by commitment, get married based on religious quality, Islam. When we see that, because the Holy Prophet Muhammad SAW has taught us that if someone who approaches you for your child, for your daughter in marriage, and is of religion, you should allow him, you should give him that girl in marriage. That is our foundation to be strong. Then we start to build on it. In Islam, the teaching that we have, when you get married and you know you are building an Islamic home, you are starting your foundation, you are starting your home in the laid down principles of Islam. Let's start from this stage. For us, when you get married and you have followed the principle to marry a Muslim child, both of us, male and female, the prayer that we have after marriage on the day of Nikah is by the missioner or the officiating master, is that Barakallahu lak wa baraka alaykuma wa jama'a bainakuma fil khayr. That may Allah bless the two of you and bless whatever He is going to give you. That's, you are starting your relationship with the invoked invocation of Allah into your family. At the same time, there are some lessons that should be followed. Even the first meeting with your wife, which shows that your intention, you know that someone greater, someone more powerful is in control, and we must keep ourselves into his hand. That is why in the prayer is that Allahumma jannibna shaitan wa jannib shaitana maradatan. That is when you are meeting. It is not unlike how we do it today. We have said in the beginning that we do not look at that side when we are getting married. You can see that today they get married through online. How do you get married online? Can that produce any good thing tomorrow? That is why Yoruba adage says that the wife that is married in a party, in an occasion, will go back same way. Ìyàwó tá a bá fi ijó fẹ́, ìran ló máa lọ. Now that you have gotten married and you started your first meeting with your wife with prayer, you can see that you have asked the person who should be asked. You have asked the controller of your life to take care of you and guide your population and protect whatever is going to come out of it. That promise by Allah, that prayer taught us by the Holy Prophet, will not change it. Even if there are tens of millenniums that come up, it will not change the prayer that Prophet taught us, because he believed it's going to work. If you say it faithfully in Allah, it will work, and it's going to work positively. Therefore, let us now see when Allah says that when we now establish our family, what are our duties on our children? We allow Western style of life to overshadow our interest. We allow the Western world to cover our faces by making us not to go through the duties, our challenges. Our children have rights over us, as we also have rights over them. The mothers that are the first teachers of our children, how knowledgeable are they? Do they even know Islam at all? If you do not have a plan of building an Islamic estate, an Islamic home, then you can bring in anyone you like. But if you are bringing in someone with whom you join hands together to build an Islamic home, there are a lot of teachings that should come from you. If you do your proper job on your wife, certainly your wife is the first teacher of your children. She will know what and what to teach your children to bring them up Islamically. But do you yourself know Islam? If you don't know Islam, how do you teach? Someone who does not have something cannot give it out. majority of those called Muslim fathers today, they are only interested in knowing some surah, to pray, to observe salat, nothing more. Whereas we are supposed, the Holy Prophet ﷺ directed us that Talabul ilm faridatun ala kulli muslim wa muslima. To seek for knowledge is incumbent on both Muslim male and female. If we are aware or we do not have the knowledge, we should employ the services of those who have that knowledge to impact the Islamic knowledge on our wives, who later start to teach our children how to come up in Islam. Therefore, we should all now go through our duties. How do we build our home? To teach family Islamic knowledge, whose role? It is our role to teach our children, our family, Islam. It is our duty to do that. Now, Allah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum an-nara wa quduha an-nas wal hijara. That is, all you who believe, protect yourselves and your families from a fire whose fuel is people and stone. In Surah At-Tahrim, Ayah 6, is a command, is a direct command from Allah to us, the head of the family. That is, you protect your life, protect yourself, protect your soul from destruction. Not only you, take care of your family, take care of your wife and your children. Teaching Islam at home, enlightening the family is your role. If you put up your role very well, there will be no problem at the end. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu says that you teach your family and show them good manners. Teach them and show them good manners. We have all allowed this so-called millennium to blindfold us. We have allowed it to take away the instruction of Islam, the principles of Islam from our hearts. We want to belong in. Some will be saying they don't want to look like illiterate. They want to show that they also understand. If you want to show that you also understand and you don't want to look barbaric, then it means you are ready to go the other way. You are ready that the millennium should take you away and take your family away. It is your role to take care of yourself and take care of your family. Also, beside that, the education of our children. The education of our children is a very good priority. How do we educate them? Effort to satisfy our eating, our source of survival, has also given us problem. Because the father in Nigeria, for example, the father leaves home 5 a.m. Maybe if he lives in Ikorodu, he prays, observes his Subuhi prayer at Ketu. The wife, the mother, also leaves home same time. At times they go together because they want to survive and leave the children in care of housemates. You take them to school, make sure they dress up, make sure they take their breakfast, make sure you get them to school on time. A housemaid who has no knowledge of what she should do. A housemaid who is to be trained. We now hand over our children into their care. Come back, the wife comes back, 10 o'clock, the husband comes back, 11 o'clock, they are all tired. You just say, how was your school today, my baby? How was this today? That's good, very good, very good. You have done your homework? Yes, I've done it. We have left things to be done aside. And we have taken up the unnecessary things. The education, ta'limul atfal, the Prophet said, kanakshi al-hajar. The teaching of children, whatever knowledge you impart on them, is like a stone on which we strike a mark. It will remain there forever. The knowledge that we impart into our children from the beginning of their life. That is why the Holy Prophet said, Muru awladakum bisalat wa hum abna as-saba wa wadribuhum alayha wa hum abna ashar wa fariqu bainahum fil madaji. That is, you command your children to pray as from 7 years. Make sure you flog them a bit at 10 years and you separate their burdens. See, 7 years. Now, at 7 years today in our country, 7 years, a child is almost in maybe nursery 2. At 7 years then, when we were young, you are just starting primary school. You have been trained, you have known many things, you have been helping your parents at home, you have known the right from the wrong before you even start primary school. But today, see, because we want to meet up with the world, it has made us to have that problem that we are having today. What we now do in order to overcome that, one, we educate the children in Islamic way. How do we go about that? We look for an Islamic school, a standard school, where Islamic principle is going to be embedded in your child. Also, you need to have a library of Islamic books in your house. Not all those novels that you just bring in. You buy for them, you want them to speak English very well. Then you continue to buy novels for them to read. Give them, when you buy dailies, newspaper, you give it to them. You want their English to be very sound. Establish a library of Islamic books in your home. Then develop your child's interest in Islamic knowledge. Let them have development. Let them have interest. You are practicing Islam in the way your children will not even like to be a Muslim.
Jazakum Allah khairan, Imam. Jazakum Allah khairan kathira. Jazakum Allah khairan kathira. We wish we could continue to listen to you. The time is no longer on our side. May Allah reward you abundantly. You will try to round up.
Okay. Inshallah, our problem is solved if we try to follow how to bring our children. We don't neglect our duties, and we try to bring them up Islamically. The friends they make, the place where they go, the neighbors they associate with must be watched, must be monitored very well. If we do that and we continue to push them into Islamic gathering, Islamic societies, Islamic associations, and so on, they will come up having the knowledge. If we have built them in there, build that in them, there will be no problem. Whatever comes their way, they have had the prior knowledge that all those are Mota'ul Hayat Dunya. They are just the worldly materials. So that is our job. One foundation of our family is very important. Our assignments as teachers, as parents on our children must not be handed over to another person, to a neighbor or relatives. We should handle it by ourselves. By that, we will all have cause to say, Alhamdulillah, our children will be children of glory in the presence of Allah and in Islam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are not surprised at your delivery. Sheikh Abdul Salam, retired and assistant director, Lagos State Ministry of Education. He has been handling children all the years. He knows how to handle them. And that was why he was able to deal with that topic effectively. Sheikh Abdul Salam holds a BA degree in Islamic studies from Lagos State University. He's a Mufti now, and is the proprietor of Markaz Darus Salam, Orimedu Ikorodu. You have really benefited from your presentation. We pray to the Almighty Allah to continue to enrich you with knowledge, increase you in iman and taqwa, and give you reward for what you have done for us Allah the party today. There's nothing we can offer you except to say, Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. Jazakumullahu khairan kathira. On behalf of Allah the party, we appreciate you so much. We want you to pray for us because Prophet says, Salata Blata Dawatuhu, Asohimu Atta Yutira, Al-Imam Al-Adilu, Wadawatu Maslumu. Three sets of people, their prayer will not be returned unanswered. Number one, a fasting person who breaks his fast. You are fasting, you are also fasting. You are a sheikh. That's another characteristic that some of us don't have. You are a mufti. To be a mufti, the kind of Islamic scholars that one will have got. And it's better imagine. You are a mufti, you are a sheikh, you are a retired assistant director, and you are a mufti, you are a great scholar. We would like you to pray for us, pray for the entire members of National Life Party, and pray for the entire Muslim.
Alhamdulillah.
And pray for all Nigerians and the entire people of the world who are facing challenges of COVID-19.
We pray to Almighty Allah that because for the importance of this period in which we are, especially the last 10 days of Ramadan, that is a special period for acceptance of prayer quickly. We use that to seek Allah's blessing on Nasfat as a whole, because they have come to enlighten, to open the hearts, the minds of a lot of Muslims that don't know what they are doing years back. Their impact is being felt up to tomorrow. For that, as many people that have become practicing Muslim through your innovation, through your coming in, like that time, Allah will, because of them, continue to widen the scope of NASFAT, starting from the leaders, the president, and all the ESCO, our chief missioner, and all the ulamas there that are doing a lot of job. The chief missioner is the engine of NASFAT, not the president, is the engine of NASFAT. So the engine should continue, Allah should continue to grease the engine, to fuel the engine, so that the society will not collapse. All the blessing of this month shall never elude us, inshallah. And we pray for the country. We are in a very serious dilemma. When one road is blocked, the normal taking lecture to schools, to mosque and individual is blocked. Allah blocked it. That is how we came about this innovation. And it has worked for us very well. We pray that this problem, Allah knows the beginning. He knows when it's ending. The end is at hand. May Allah do not let us have any cause to fall into the problem. All of us and the family, may God bring peace to this country and the whole world. May He forgive us our sins and let us escape. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-barasi wal-jununi wal-jizami wa min sa'il asqab. Allahumma rfa'ana wa la tada'na wadfa' anna wa la tadfa'na wa atina wa la tahrimna wa sidna wa la tanqusna warhamna wa la tu'azzibuna wa farij hammana wa akshif gammana wa 'allik aduwana wansurna wa la tahzulna wa akrimna wa la tuhina wasturna wa la tabdana wa asrina wa la tu'assir alaina wa afisna fala tudayyi'na fa innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir ya aqdar al-qadirin wa ya asra al-asibin sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ali wa sahbihi ajma'ina subhanaka allahumma wa bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wassalamu ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Jazakumullah khairan kathira. Yalla be with you. Yalla reward you. You invited you. They are going to honor our. Jazakumullah khairan kathira. You may take your leave, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Alhamdulillah. That was the second lecture of today's edition of National Party Online Dawah series. The topic of that discussion was parenting. How do we handle the millennials? How do the parents? How do they handle the millennials? And I've defined those who are referred to as the millennials to you at the commencement of the program. The take-home, most of the bullet points from the presentations are we should relate with them like friends. Don't say you want to raise them up the way you are raised up. Number two, they have critical minds. Always allow them to express themselves. Do not guide them to what is right. Don't think you can suppress their thoughts. Don't think you can suppress their wishes. Don't think you can humiliate them. Allow them to talk. Do not guide them to what is right. Number three, speak their language. Speak their language. What do I mean by speak their language? Have access to their YouTube, have access to their email addresses, have access to their Facebook. You can easily guide them if you are going astray. Sit together with them and watch some movies or television. Know what they are doing on the internet. Know the kind of friends they are keeping. And most importantly, teach them the way of Allah. Teach them the way of Allah. Nasrullah, the party as a society, in realization of the challenges that parents are facing, we do organize a camping program for the millennials. The undergraduate, the SS1, SS2, SS3 students, we camp them for 3 or 4 days. We do what we call reloading the gym. How do we approach them? How do we handle the training? We ask them to write down all the questions that have been troubling, that have been disturbing their mind about this religion. All the questions that have been thrown at them by their friends who are not Muslim, even those who are Muslim. What are the things that they could not even discuss with their parents about this religion, as making them thinking that this religion is not reasonable. This religion is conscience disturbing. This religion is not, is against reasoning. We asked them to write those questions. We now ask them to go and find answers to those questions, to those disturbing questions themselves on the internet. After finding the answers themselves, we collate the answers and we give them the correct answers to those questions. Most of the times, the revelation that we got after the training will be very surprising. One of them, after one of the training that we conducted for the millennials, one of them said that he read 10 things, 10 facts about Islam, 10 things that said that Islam is a bad religion. He said he believes 3 of them, but he didn't believe 7. We now asked him, tell us those 3 that you believe. He said Islam is painted as a religion of violence. What makes you think so? He said the writer of that article said that Prophet named his sword. We now ask him, Nigerian Navy has a lot of warship. Nigeria Air Force has a lot of aeroplanes that they use to fight war. If they name those aeroplanes, if they name those warships, what is wrong in that? If you have a dog and you name your dog, it was then that I said, oh, you now realize that those who are on the internet are trying to brainwash them. The internet is replete. The internet is filled up with so many atheists, and they are trying to take our children out of the religion. He mentioned so many things, and we are able to disabuse his mind. What I'm saying in essence is that find time to sit with your children, relate with them. Don't say you want to raise them the way you are raised. If you want to raise them that way, you have so many teachers outside who will not even collect money for them from them to train them, and they are going to give them bad training. We thank Allah who has given them to the party so many ways, so many platforms to reach out to so many strata of our society, be it the elderly, be it the women, be it the millennials. We have program for the millennials. Inshallah, we'll make an announcement where we are going to do another training that we call Reloading the Deen. It's targeted at the millennials. We will speak their language, we will dress their ways, we will calm them in an environment that's very conducive to watching their TV, and it's not a macarata, it's not something that we are going to put them in the water and going to be sitting on the floor. We break the wall between the trainers and the trainee, and we allow them to open their mind. Most of our branches, most of our schools, they organize that during Easter. I was in the UK last year, where I participated in the program called Family Reunion. The children were camped in a separate place, and they were asked to express their mind, to say what is disturbing their mind about Islam, and it turns out they were properly educated. May Allah take care of our children for us. Before we go today, Najala the party wants you to end 1441 Ramadan in a very unique way. We have brought another bonus for you. We have brought another project to you. During at the beginning of Ramadan, we asked you to feed those who are vulnerable, and some of you contributed to that project. We don't matter reward you abundantly. We have come up with another project, and that project is to put smiles on the faces of those who will not be able to feed themselves on each day, even though the Catholic ministry is supposed to take care of them. The Catholic is supposed to take care of them. Nasrullah and the party has set up a project, we call it Individual Special. What do we need to do on that day? We are feeding 6,500 persons on each day at 130 outlets in 20 zones across Nigeria. And we want our zones outside the country to key into this project, is to localize it, is to indigenize it in their own environment. We are feeding 6,500 persons on each day at 130 outlets in 20 zones. Each outlet will contain 100 persons. And to feed 100 persons, we have estimated 50,000 naira. As an alpha, as somebody who's been given donation, I've contributed my own widow's mite to it too. We are to spend 50,000 naira to feed 100 people. Each outlet will comprise of 100 people. And to feed those 100 people, it will cost us just 50,000 naira. You can just say, well, take one outlet, memory of your late parents. Say, okay, this 1 outlet that will feed 100 people with 50,000 naira. I'm dropping 50,000 naira, and I want all the prayers to go to my late parents. May Allah make it easy for us. The account to create is Stanbic IBTC Nasrat 0011183001. Nasrat Stanbic IBTC account. Nasrat Stanbic IBTC account 0011183001. This is a project in which we plan to feed 6,500 indigent people, those who could not afford it in the future. As we are jubilating with your family on that day, we want so many other people to be jubilating. And this can only be made possible through you. Allah will use you as an instrument to put smiles on the face of the downtrodden, to put smiles on the face of the underserved, to put smiles on the face of those who want to partake in the month of Ramadan. And on the day of Eid, they will be happy. They will feed well. They will break their fast on the morning before going for everything. There's even no congregation of Salah on that day. Everybody will observe it in his home. Join Nasrullah party in putting smiles on people's faces. We call it Eid al-Fitr special. A very unique way to end 1441 Ramadan. You may tell the word as you do so. Let's give our intention for the prayer. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم تمتنا بدعائك ووتنا بإجابتك وقد أعوذناك كما أمرتنا فأجبنا كما وعدتنا يا ذا الجلال والإكرام إنك لا تخلف الميعاد اللهم أكرمتنا بالدعاء والشكية أنت خير من شكا أنت ولي ومولاه ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب الدنيا إن عذاب القبر نقمة الدجال وزدوه المسيح ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا مسلمين وعلينا بالصالحين اللهم ارزقنا على ما رزقنا اللهم علمنا على ما علمنا اللهم اهدنا على ما هدينا اللهم عافينا على ما عافينا اللهم اغفر لنا على ما اغفر لنا اللهم ارحمنا على ما ارحمنا اللهم اغفرنا على ما اغفرنا اللهم اجعل خير كلامنا من الدنيا سعادة الله اله الا الله محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين صلوا على النبي الكريم صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد